Good evening and salutations, my Jade fans. It's very interesting how they're playing, how they're writing Dante, right? Because a couple of days ago, when Dante first lashed out at Gio, for the most part, I was generally on his side, and I still stand by that initial episode, that initial day when he was like, "You should have stopped there and called." Instead, you decided, oh, I think he'll be fine. Let him just sleep it off. And then finding out that his son is in the hospital and he almost died. And being blindsided by that. I understand that. I understand that initial lashing out. Right? Then day two comes in and he starts talking about charges and he starts talking about, oh, maybe you're the one that was responsible for giving Danny the alcohol. And at that point I was like, all right, bro. I was like, all right, broski. See, I understood your initial anger. Now at this point, you were just taking this way too far, right? And Sonny said something. Sonny said the same thing that Lois said today. I mean, Sonny said the same thing that Lois said a couple of days ago. I think it was actually yesterday. That you were upset with yourself and you're taking it out on Gio. And, he read him like a book because he's a father. He's been doing this longer than Dante. He's like, I get it. You're scared. And this is the fallout. This is the side effect of that emotion. Now I knew that when he came in the house, he pressed Jason, and Jason left or whatever to talk to Danny. And one of the things he was saying to Sonny was like, I don't want Danny to be hanging around with Rocco. And on some level, I get it, right? I know it sounds bad, but I get it. Rocco wouldn't have been in that situation if it wasn't for Danny. Now, yes, obviously Danny didn't sit there and put a gun to his head and said, well, you're going to do this or else. But there is such a thing as a bad influence. And Rocco does seem like a good kid. And that's not just saying Danny's not a good kid, but Danny has a wild side, right? I mean, that's just, it is what it is. So I do understand why he's saying, I don't want him near my kid. Now, I agree, and I agree to an extent. Now, I don't think this should be a forever thing, right? But his anger, his feelings are still running hot. Maybe some time apart will sit there and do him some good. Maybe it'll make him cool down a little bit. You know, I don't know about forever, but I understand that was the cause of it. So I get, in a sense, I do support that. Not forever, but I do support that. But it gets worse. It gets worse because you know there's a point where Sasha sits there and talks to Danny about his mistakes and doing better and learning from him and you know whatever, right? Just kind of give him some tips and stuff like that, just how to do better and move forward. Jason, this is a question I want to sit there and ask y'all. Do you think that Jason was too easy on Danny? Right? Do you think that he was too easy on him? Now, I'm not, I don't have kids or whatever, but I'm not the yelling and screaming type to some extent. I feel like sometimes as long as you use the right words, you use the right tone, you can get your point across way more easier than if you're da 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 da. Like that doesn't like that's I feel like that's the wrong way to go about it. But you do need to have a certain tone and the words that you say and the punishment that you give needs to match that energy since you're not gonna go at it in this yelling and whatever manner. The reason why I sit there and say it's because, I mean, all he did was talk to him essentially and basically say just do better choice, make better choices, and do better, and that he's going to sit there and check in with him every night, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I sat there and I was like, wait, wait, that's it. I mean, his brother almost died, and you're just like, oh, you're just going to sit there and check in with me every night. And when Dante came in, Danny apologized to him, and Danny left the room. And Dante was like, okay, so what'd you do? And Jason was like, I talked to him. And he's like, okay, and? And what? And what? What do you mean, and what? Like, was there some sort of consequences? Like, my whole thing is like, you didn't punish him. You didn't sit there and say he had a curfew. You didn't sit there and take away his phone or no internet access, whatever, video games. Some sort of punishment to reflect what you did. Yeah, you feel like shit. That's good. You're not a sociopath. Congratulations. But what else did you do? You didn't do anything. And I think that's what Dante Smith is saying. Dante was like, so you just like that's it. And then, like I said, things get worse because that's where Dante is like, oh, something along the lines of like he could be charged with, um, I don't know, involuntary manslaughter or close. He said he was going to charge him with something serious, like something with manslaughter. And Jason was like, what? And I was like, all right, bro. I was like, all right. See, like once again, this is where you're just like. So that's what I'm sitting there saying. It's very interesting how they're writing Dante. After everything that Sonny said, you can't watch your kids 24/7. Kids are gonna be kids. You did stupid things when you were young. You have to. It's all of that stuff just went out the goddamn window, and he's just like on DEFCON 4 at this point. One, he wants to sit there and charge Gio. Now he wants to sit there and charge Danny. I'm like, bro, do you not understand the idea of abuse of your badge? Because, like, and again, I get it. That's his kid. He's scared. He's angry. And Jason practically sat there and said, you know what you're going to get for your punishment? Eh. So I get that. But, like, bro, you are, like, oh. Now, let's talk about Portia for a minute. Portia, kind of a snake. You're not kind of a snake. You are a snake in a sense. Because the press conference starts, and Drew pretty much is sitting there saying that he got drugged, he filed a police complaint, and you got Willow standing by him, supporting him. After talking to Isaiah for a little bit, and Liz, she gets called in by Portia. Portia's like, so is everything okay? I mean, and all the conversation kind of boils down to is her trying to put doubt in Willow's head. And they're saying, I get it, you practically bet on the wrong horse or whatever, and you might be having some sort of regrets or whatever. And I'm just like, is this chick serious? Now, remember I said a while back, Portia, you're not out of the woods. Okay. This thing that you set up with Nina, it's really only going to benefit Nina, right? Now Brad comes in there. Brad pretty much kind of gives he's like he's pretty much quitting. And he says something along the lines of like, listen, just because I'm leaving does not mean that the blackmailing is going to be stopping in the future anytime. Now, before he walks in there, or maybe after, he gives Drew something. Drew walks in there, and Drew's pretty much like, so, yeah, I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to fight these charges. I mean, I'm going to fight this whole slander thing, and I'm going to be fine. But you thought just because something like that happened, that your problems was going to be over. And that's my whole thing. I was like, bro, you're an idiot. Like, you're an idiot. Like, point blank, period. So he reminds her, he's like, hey, listen, I still will blow up your marriage, make you lose your license, and possibly jail time. If you do not get Curtis under control, start writing some favorable articles for me and on my side, and also endorsing, what's his name? Ezra as, like start like endorsing him and stuff like that. If you don't get your husband to do that, you don't get him to play ball, your ass is grass. And she has that innocent look like she knows that she's screwed. See, the whole point is you try to team up with Nina to get rid of your Drew problem. But in reality, the only problems, like, you didn't benefit from that. She did. And essentially, she used you to do it. Now what? Now what? I mean, there's a point where Nina is not there talking to Curtis, and, Nina's not there saying that she's Team Sunny despite everything. And, Curtis, while Curtis is not there making these commentaries towards Marco and Sitwell and Drew and Tracy and Jordan, even Curtis is like, I've never known him sit there and take any sort of substance or anything like that. And he does have a lot of enemies, so, like, yeah, I do believe that he got set up. It's not that much of a stretch, so of course Willow eventually is going to sit there and believe him. And one of the things when Drew got there, Drew was like, listen, everyone loves a comeback story. And Cynthia saying that he's still in the game, he still wants to sit there and drive Sonny out of town and everything like that. So, Tracy's not there talking about the Sonny problem, and Marco was just like, y'all been going about it in the wrong way. Y'all need to sit there and step it up. He hasn't even been in Port Charles long, but here he knows that Sonny, has a lot of goodwill towards the people, and the money that he donates and him building himself up from nothing, people respect that. So it's not going to be as easy as Tracy is making it out to say. But after they leave, Tracy's like, hey, listen, if Sitwell actually, gets rid of Sonny, I'll pretty much hand him the key to the city. I'm like, well, I get, my whole thing is like, she's so angry with Sunny. She's so blinded by anger and everything like that, that all she's doing is trading one problem for another. And people have said that. People have sat there and said that. And Tracy's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm like, okay. Now, Sitwell is not like Sunny. Sitwell will sit there and find a way to sit there and end Tracy, threaten her loved ones. This is something that Sunny wouldn't do, but Sitwell has zero qualms, zero problems about doing that. Now, Brad isn't there leaving town, and he talks to Lucas, and they pretty much kind of say their goodbyes and everything. And I don't know how to feel about it, right? Like, I mean, I was never a Brad fan, right? I was never a Brad fan, and I guess at this point, like, his story is pretty much kind of done. Didn't really have much for him to do, or as far as, like, I feel like they're kind of like, we can just kind of close the chapter on him from now. Which, okay. Now I know people's like, oh, they need to sit there and bring back Scotty. They need to bring back a bunch of other people. I'm like, yeah, I don't really see that happening. Um, Sitwell and Jordan does go to Sonny's place to sit there and talk. Sitwell is a very fun character. I like Sitwell. And of course, also when Curtis get there, Nina Smith there, pretty much just kind of unloading on Curtis about Willow and her decision to sit there and stick by Drew and everything, and she's upset and she's angry and disappointed. I'm like, bro, when the truth comes out, you are going to be feeling so much worse. It's going to be not just laughable, but entertaining as hell. Because one of the things where Brad was about to leave, Brad was like, "So you're gonna blow up her life, right? I mean, you're gonna really tank Portia's life, right?" He was like, "Oh, listen, there's going to be plenty of people going down, not just not just Portia." And he seemed like he's going to enjoy every single minute of it. And I'm here for it. I am here for it. I'm here for all of it. Seriously, I am. Um, it seems that Lucas and Liz are, for right now, kind of going to drop their investigation on Brad. And since, like, Brad, they knew that Brad was blackmailing Portia. But since Brad is gone, well, there's really no need to sit there and investigate any further. There's a lot of the small conversations. Like, there was a conversation with Liz and Isaiah, and it didn't really go anywhere, so I'm not even going to bother to mention it, but they did talk, so um, there is that. Now, I feel like that's about it. I can't think of anything else. But if I miss anything, come to the live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I'll be live streaming for an hour. Um, and I guess we'll talk about all four of the shows. I don't know if Bold and the Beautiful actually came on because of the whole Pope thing and everything. So I don't know if Bold and the Beautiful actually is going to be on today. I know Beyond the Gates is on because it came out 17 minutes later, which yeah, that's fun. I guess I'll be watching that on Paramount. Anyway, like I said, I'll probably be talking about either five of the soaps or four of the soaps. Let me know in the comment section below if you are a B&B fan. Do you know if it's coming on tonight or today, later on Paramount or not? And yeah, I'll see you on the next video and live stream.